Losing the Living, Grieving Their Absence by C.A. Millian.
Chapter 20. Getting on with it. The next new me. So, I have left this bit to last. Why? Because this is hard to do. Getting on with it. You have no idea what it is. After such many traumas, you think you know yourself, but unfortunately, the more we push to be yesterday's person, the more it seems not to sit with you. I sat in the stage 4 for years. At first, I think you must be striding across the acceptance area and getting on with it. But you may feel that it's still a fight. You have to really pull up your bootstraps and get on with it. Obviously, no one else around you can do that for you. You are doing it in silence as well. You are doing it when you are on your own. You are self-talking and trying to shut out any fears of self-sabotage. So, what is new for me? The new me. In my opinion, it's anything different that you are doing from the norm. Not really like doing it, but even small things is out of the norm. Today, me reading to you is definitely out of my norm. An example. Yesterday, I would have said yes to something, even when I was not really wanting to. Yes to something that would create anger in my mind, emotionally upset me, or make me very personally uncomfortable. Yes, at times, is something that gives you anxiety and gives you restless nights. So, yes is something that tomorrow you would not like to be as much of. Your tomorrow's self will be hurt and be disappointed. This is very hard emotionally as a situation. This is not a time to be hard on yourself, though. If you say yes because it gives someone else that matters a bigger picture of peace of mind or genuine aid to their day and month or even year, but you still rather not, just think about it for a moment and think about the balance within you. Is that what you're saying? Yes to balance? Are you truly expressing the conditions of action and aid, no matter how small? Do they really realise how uncomfortable you feel, but you're doing it anyway? Do you really ask them that I don't really want to do this, so do you really want me to do that? Do you really know how much this yes is costing you emotionally as well as physically? The above is important. If they don't know, they will ask and ask again for those favours. I took a family member to a funeral once, a funeral of someone that I did not like, I did not appreciate, and I did not like his ethics. I did not respect them, I had not known them very much, but each time I knew them, they were being very unkind. My head and heart was saying, no! My whole body was shivering with, no, don't do it! I decided to take my family members to that funeral out of respect. Respect for them, not respect for the person that had died. That was important to them, so I drove them there. Then and there, I wore black out of respect, but I did not go full funeral. I was completely content that I was not part of the group, but I was there to be counted. My family members knew my reasons and understood how uncomfortable I was and not to ask again. They also knew I wished no malice or harm to anyone paying their respects. I felt like a good compromise. Up until then, I would have just said yes, not explained the emotional issues I felt inside and said yes anyway. But tomorrow's person had already started, and I was much happier with the compromise, one step closer to the newer me. Well, my ending note for you on my reading exercise and obviously writing exercise, I want to talk to you about lots of other traumas that I have had and I've been through. But what cause will that bring? What will that gain you by knowing every intricate detail? Just because we've both got similarities, maybe? Or maybe other ideas or two that we can give to other people. that is ongoing. That is evolving. I know talking about traumas will not bring back people into your life. If I ask you, what would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to go forward and stay in the same position or pain? Or would you prefer to go forward with trust in yourself and resist the urges? Maybe not at first, but you can, Oh, okay, yeah. Come on, Carolyn, you know how hard it is. A different or newer path will be something that you may want to try purely because of self-confidence. But you may not want to try something different. You may just want to change a small amount of the attitude for yourself. It makes me giggle. We always think of a new path completely new, but you and I know it's been travelled before by other people. They took the first steps so we didn't have to. Some stranger has already done what we need to do and have done it. This is so much more powerful, and thinking that we can actually tap into that exercise. They've already done it. We just have to bring up the bits and pieces to make it our first time. We can decide to do things our own way, which is amazing, by following somebody else's footsteps in part, but also making new ones. We don't have to invent the wheel because it's already been invented. We just have to be a little bit more unique with ourselves. The best entangled feeling I have is life again. Out of most traumas, with new strength, a life that comes from nowhere. I'm very grateful for that. I will be seeing my 50th birthday while writing this. I have lots of opportunity to make new decisions. So do you. That is the great internal power. You can go and get off right now that chair, that stool, or even that bench, and you can be right up, right there to be counted. You can take charge of where and when and how you feel, and what opportunities and ventures are going to be ahead of you. Sure, you may be alone at first. Seeing and touching your own man-woman-made opportunities is better. We've all had that passionate sex, but sometimes we just have to go through things on our own. The feeling of, I'm saying, I did that. Not doing it, I did it. No one can take that away from you, ever. They can try and belittle it, but you know better. Their opinion is theirs. Does that really impact yours now after reading all these few sentences to adapt to your new lifestyle? We have spoken about the consequences of these new decisions. Every consequence comes across as an action or a reaction to some sort. So act. Do and play with action that does not hurt anybody, especially yourself, but being honest. If you have a bad feeling or find yourself doing something you don't really feel right about, politely say thank you, but no thank you. That's a full sentence. No other comment is required, and I and the people around you will do know then that you do not wish to participate any further. Your inner strength is gigantic. You may be 4 foot and a fag end, but you're enormous inside and your inner strength. I've created quite a few realities, and my family created a few too in my 50 years. I am in love with making my own realities now. In love? Can you imagine saying that to yourself? I have new responsibilities, but none of them can and will keep me from new realities. I have no big plan to expose you except to maintain a house and to make a roof over my head, ensure I can buy food and pay the bills. The love of and to the people in my life is honest and true, in my own pace, and there is no rush. We don't need to wait neither. We'll wait for buses, trains, finishing a shift at work, waiting in the queue for a sandwich. The practical things, not emotional things, unless you have a baby coming, and that's completely different. You're excited. You don't need to wait to give or to have that yes or to have that no. It's either a yes or no. No sugarcoating of it. Oh, it's a lot easier to deal with things like that. Receiving what you need to hear there and then. So for me, I would rather know where I stand and just receive the no. Life goes on. The dance of the music will always be there. A situation may be acknowledged, recognised, and there is no need for unnecessary long moments of conflict or upset, just because it's a nicer way to do things. When I get asked, why am I doing something? I just say, because. Only the few people that really know me and that are important to me know why I'm doing something. And that's good enough. There is no need to be as transparent in our everyday life with everybody. We have got social media, which is a complete giant out there following us and sneaking up on us. But we manage to lead by example instead. My example is to be fair and truthful, to come across as friendly, because I am, with no doubt to anyone that I own my own things, my own decisions, my own actions. Yes, for years I gave like a philanthropist, but without that means to be a philanthropist. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the means, and I didn't have the time. I did not have a care in the world about giving, but I have no money or not enough money for bills or food and to put a roof over my head. It had to be the first thing to change, and I've been changing that. I implore you to always look after those elements. Not because I want you to be selfish, but you have got to survive. And if surviving is only the method that you can take a rule by, but right now, then do it. We never know when someone will take everything away from us. I hope you feel in love with the pages in my book. I have tried to write things before, but I felt fearful, and it got the better of me. This is a daring exercise and a daring exchange of honest thoughts for you. I hope you feel it can open up to your, trusted people as well. You only need one trusted person. The subject of grief is so supportive and objective. It's also subjective. Many of us walk around coping with that person or without that group in our life that we once belonged to. They were once very, very important in our life. Society does carry on and expect each other to just carry on without a tool to cope with. Could you and I be just a few elements of that society that give a SIT and give some compromise and some compassion and empathy to others, maybe just by a smile? Most of all, I hope you get over the absent people, the person, and meet loads of new positive people that you make smile and they make you smile. Thank you for reading. I'm off my reading exercise for a little while, and I'm off to my own little mind space of hope. And I wish you a very, very happy day and week and fulfilling life. You've earned it. Kind regards, CA Million, BA Honours, PGCE. Thank you. Chapter 19, Not Accepting Those Red Flags. Red flags, as a saying, first come to me within sales. I was deeply selling into very big corporate companies, and I learned this thing of saying, well, what's your red flags? And I thought, what are you talking about? Well, I told you earlier that I'd had over 40 jobs, and with so many different responsibilities and duties before writing this book, I was quite embarrassed by the number I was actually thinking about that I actually had worked in. But I had gained more insight than many in many different sectors, different methods and different approaches to how to treat people, how to treat customers, how to treat contracts. I was not put my teeth back in. I was not embarrassed by my sexual partner number, 9 by the age of 50, but embarrassed by the number of places I had worked in. Different places. I have lived in 33 different homes, and I reached a point that now I'm actually proud of that. Those skills of moving around, getting those boxes, getting those different people in different areas has actually helped me, and people come to me just for their little bit of advice. Now I'm proud I just kept on going and doing what I needed to do. I did what was necessary to fit in with the people that I was with. I had the jobs, and I did have a lot of financial circumstances that I had to negotiate and I had to juggle. The bread earner, many, many times over. I accepted that I had to go up the ladder. I accepted that I had to go and get the money and provide for people that was in my life. It was not always scrubbing toilets, but I did. It was not always negotiating whilst driving 560 odd miles a week to result in 58,000 miles a year. No, it was not always very, very long hours, but I was always willing to do it, and I did it. Not many people will put themselves through that kind of hard graft to keep food on the table, roof and bills paid. So instead of being embarrassed, I'm very proud of it, and so should you be. I celebrate the number of skills and insights that have gained me and helped me achieve respect in the jobs that I've had. For being hardworking, for being responsible, reliable and good at what I do. Something we can all do and also take to the bank. You know that if we join a new job, that soon they will realise that you are hardworking, responsible, reliable and good at what you do. Hard work is what we do. It's worth it in the end. It allows us peace of mind in our own worlds. Very, very slowly, but truly. One of those jobs gave me some really good training. As I mentioned, the red flags. I was in my early 20s. It was called Miller Hyman Training for Salespeople. My main takeaway was that I learnt about the red flags. It trained us to note down the areas of concern, and it's mostly used nowadays in everything. What are your red flags? What are your red flags? Everybody knows about red flags. But in those days, it was just to talk about what was concerning within sales. Was that prospect going to turn into an actual customer? It was also encouraged to investigate the decision makers and the influencers. Who would make the final money decision? And the influencers that have the ear of those decision makers. So each month we could talk about them and get around the table and decide. This is why I think it's similar within our own life. These attributes help me in my work performance dramatically and still do every day. Although at times it does feel a little bit long-winded as a task, I do go through the red flag situation. What I forgot to do was to do the same in my domestic life, though, as much. Not because I wanted to be analytical, but purely and simply I wanted to make decisions with full consciousness. Once I knew these skills, because I treated my domestic life different, I was blind to the red flags, but became unblind to the red flags. My first realisation that I'd been doing this was basically in a method that was all about domestic truth. So in the following pages, I've given you a few ideas of the red flag, the decision maker, the influencer, how I possibly overcome it and what I would do now, what action is needed, and an example of exactly how I have done this and how I would do this. And there's many examples within the book regarding friends, partners, work colleagues, staff members, bosses, you name it. You have got several pages of long ideas that are quick to read and are straight to the point, just like you and I have all the time, many different ways of doing this. The best thing to do, though, is to acknowledge these red flags. Take the great lessons that we have got from them. I know that it is easier said than done. It's great to realise the achievements you've managed. It's really good to revise and think, wow, what have we done? We've reflected and thought, well, we got over those red flags, those traumas and dramas. And it gave us a great, eventually, understanding of what part you took in those domestic episodes. Sorry to say it, but we did. Everyone took a part. It was the greatest times and the worst of times. You can't get away without saying that you had a few bad moments yourself. I know in the last 50 decades I have changed. I do not recognise a child who was shy. I do not recognise a person I was even when I was 10 years old. I know you probably will say the same. Not because we've changed consciously, but because we've had to change and make that evolution. We've noticed the red flags by accident and decided to get over those challenges. Now that you know that now matters. How we can help ourselves, how we can help each other. The old me has left. Someone old, somewhere else is having that experience, but definitely not me. I know my negatives, but I did not know all my positives, something we do not concentrate on. I did not acknowledge them. I did not mark the milestones, the mountains climbed, until I was forced to by circumstances. The acceptance of bad situations is essential for our growth. The grieving process that I've mentioned in the pages before helped me help myself. That smile that you can hear, I speak. It can only be given out truly inside yourself without making an action. I have a wish list again. I have a list that is focused on and that includes people that are around me eating at the same table and living in hope. The future is always an adventure. At least I'm being present and decisive and heard. It's part of my future to be heard for me because I want to help you. Fear is an opportunity to observe ourselves and stop us from self-sabotaging. And any new experiences and challenges that come along, we can sit in that fear, realise, and then come out blazing. Fear is there to protect ourselves from negative people and situations, but not to stop. Fear is a chance to forget everything and face everything and rise. Use the fear to fuel our positive energy, not past energies. Our past is something that we have a chance to reflect on, a place to grow from, and not live in. We choose to love who we love. We also love who we want to love, but no one can use our love for a weapon of weakness against us. We are full of self-respect. We are now, anyway. What we want is not always what we need. Reward yourself just because. As RuPaul says, sashay away if need be. And the pages after there is just a diagram of the way that I see this particular program working for you. So please do have a review. Thank you. Look forward to the next chapter. Chapter 18, Attributes and Traits. Have you ever been compared to a family member in a negative way? You're just like, they comment, which was not necessarily made in a good tone, but the tone to make you feel bad, because that trait or attribute was necessarily seen as a positive. I have had it up to my eyeballs. It's obvious when you take the time to contemplate it. We are our family members, many family members that we've never even met, that we're not likely to meet. We have blood in us that streams back centuries. We have picked up their eye colours, their eyes, ears, feet, noses. It would make sense that we have the internal ways, methods inside us. They have passed through us via the centuries. Is that a bad thing? Without the caveman's experience, we would not have survived. We would not have these survival instincts. And we would not have eyebrows to make the sweat drip away onto our eyes. Without a mixture of attributes that comes from our past loved ones, we would not be here and created to have the skills that we have today. The caveman idea helped us develop the gifting of being able to feel when something is right or wrong. Our ancestors have lived and left stories for us to hear about. Lives that had rumours, secrets and adventures. It had Mixed bloodlines, grafters, heroes, bullies, mischievous ones, fighters, builders, carpenters, plumbers, homemakers, cooks, managers, business makers, and loving family makers. Without those traits, from them to you, I would not be me and you would not be you. If anyone wants to try and pull you down because of these attributes and traits, stop them. You are you, and so are they. My mum was always the butt of negative jibes by family members. Without her traits and attributes, I would not be me. I would not have survived, and I would not have gone through the fire that is inside me to actually help me and keep me trying and getting up again, trying and trying. Without her, I would not have persisted to carry on and have the tools that I have gained to get my strength. Lots of things happened to us since then, especially that Christmas when I was displaced, but one constant has been my mum. 30 years of ups and downs. In my 50 years, my mum had tried to protect me and given me the freedom to learn on my own mistakes. I did not always see that. She had seen and joined me with my smiles and my tears. The most remarkable statement was what was relatively new as a statement was a very selfless one. The one that nobody else heard, that nobody else could give me, that nobody else could say to me. I will not let the COVID take me and kill me. You are not ready for me to die yet. Even now, telling you that, I have tears from picturing that moment in my mind. You can guess, when that statement was made to me, you can guess exactly the fear I had in opening the door to the bedroom that was laying there with my mum, hearing and seeing her struggling to breathe, before we had a miracle of the vaccination that was developed by Sarah Cuthbert, Professor of Vaccinology at the Jennifer Institute. She was the leading scientist on the vaccine project with her own team. Just a few months earlier, I had tried to take my own life. I felt so guilty. I had put such a low opinion on my own life and own self. In reflection, I had. But it's not true. What would I have created if I had succeeded? Although some would have noticed my absence and some would have been happy, there are few, and that's enough, that would have been affected in a bad way, that is irretrievably bad. I am sorry for that moment. I had given up. I had not any foresight for the next day or the next moment. But that was not the right decision. I was lucky. A friend called Emma stopped by and stopped me from going any further. Yes, I had to face my reality without cutting my life short. I had too much love and memories to create. I did not know it that day, but I felt lost. I felt empty, but I did feel a healthy numbness. The numbers that helped save me and prevented me from making any more silly decisions. Instead, I had existed for a few days, a few weeks, doing the lowest kind of self-care. But it was still better than the alternative. I accept those days, and some of those days that were my darkest days, and I will never, ever permit myself or anybody else to get me to that point ever again. The only time I will face death again is by fighting for my life first, no matter what situation, age, or circumstance. The years that have followed have been hard, but I accept them. At the time, to know what I will and will not allow in my life was hard. That time was a chance to settle my heart by crying it out, a time to settle my mind by writing the thoughts out and reading it out. I was lucky. My mum gave me a roof and a temporary home through COVID. Once my home was sold, I bought a motorhome to live in and travel in, something I knew I needed to do. No experience, but ready for the challenge. A 9-foot motorhome that I named Bertie. Driving around with Bertie gave me different perspectives and opportunities. Instead of being in my head all the time and part of my breakdown and worsening financially, I was truly feeling the elements of being happy again, being sad, being lonely, but also being adventurous, all at the same time. And I appreciate that time every day. I also appreciate my mum and my friend Emma for keeping their eye on me and being honest even when I didn't want them to. I appreciate new friends that I made in that time, the people who I've worked with, the people who helped me. You have no idea the kind of impact that you make towards my health, mental well-being, and personal well-being. I am grateful I have the traits from my ancestors. They left their DNA with me. I am them, plus me, walking around every day to ensure I keep on showing up, respecting the journey. Their plans and hardships and their carrying on was part of me. They were my loving companions, my mentors, my soulmates. I now use these attributes to choose wisely and not waste my lessons that I have inherited from the old people, from my ancestors. I take my 50 and raise my hand by another 50 for a poker player. I will take my chances. I apologise now to any family members that are distant from me and may not agree with my new pathway. You never really knew me. Sorry. I do not feel comfortable enough to share the truth around you. You wanted more and more of me, and I could not deliver. I wanted to give more and more, but there was no reciprocity. There was no give and take. We owe ourselves a chance to feel happy in all our skin. I am walking towards a life that embraces people who want to enjoy life and grow into their life. I feed myself. I house myself and I work for my own bills and lifestyles. I have done that for so long in my life, it actually makes me stable. I found it from being a 15-year-old where I continue to live and look after myself. My past owes me nothing. I owe it nothing. We have had some good times, but those times are a memory and they are a photograph. If we meet in the future, it will be through my own lenses on a new footing. We both, that young person and now, have a different perspective and different boundaries. The dramas have all been put to bed, and any dramas that are behind me, they live in my past, is where they stay. I need all my energy for my next bit. Your rejections have been my protections and a chance to regroup myself, a chance for you to regroup yourself too. And thank you for those lessons. What traits and attributes have you got today? What trends have you seen within yourself? What abilities have you seen in your other parts of your family that you could actually take on? Please look at the next few ideas of what traits and attributes you could tap into for your next chapter. Thank you.